Welcome to my informative cultural presentation. I'm Belle, and I'm a proud Mexican American. I'm going to discuss a little about the history of Mexico, as well as some of their language and communication styles, and some of their food, music, and traditions and festivals. Let's get started. A little about the history of Mexico. Mexico was discovered by Hernan Cortes in 1519. The Olmec were an ancient pre-Columbian people living in the tropical lowlands of south central Mexico, Veracruz. My mom was actually born in Veracruz um, and raised, and she moved to this country when she was 18. There are many states and cities and towns which are typically called municipals in Mexico. When the Spanish arrived, the Mexica Aztec Empire was called Mexo Tenochtitlan. Throughout the colonial period, Mexico's economic relationship with Spain was based on the philosophy of mercantilism. Mexico was required to supply raw materials to Spain, which would then produce finished goods to be sold at a profit to the colonies. A dispute with the United States over the boundaries of Texas led to war between the United States and, Mexico in April of 1846. A little about Mexico's language and communication. Their nonverbal characteristics include euphemisms and jargon, metaphorical language, symbolic language, regulative rules, and constitutive rules. Their nonverbal characteristics tend to include kinesics, proxemics, chronemics, appearances, haptics, and artifacts. And the artifacts basically are colorful clothing and jewelry that you typically find throughout Mexico. Uh, Kinesics is gestures and body movements, and proxemics is generally like when they like talk close together. They're very close, which is kind of different from the United States. We tend to stay further away from each other, but in Mexico they get pretty much closer. It's more uh, close relations. Language and communication continued. Spanish is the official language of Mexico. However, students in the public school system learn English as the second language from 7th to ninth grade. Private school students tend to learn English from as early as preschool. However, typically throughout Mexico, most people send their children to public school because they cannot afford a private school education. Spanish is the dominant language. However, Indian languages of the Aztecs, Mayans, and other tribes are still spoken throughout the country. Um, a handshake is the most common form of greeting between strangers, which is haptics. Um, Although friends will usually greet each other with a single kiss on the cheek and sometimes a kiss on each cheek. Mexicans tend to use many hand gestures throughout conversation. Um, I personally, in 2015, moved to the town or municipal of Villa Corona in Mexico with my youngest son, who was 5 at the time. We lived there until 2018 when we came back to Oklahoma. In the town centro, after church every evening, most people in the municipal gather in the centro, which you see here in it's like a central courtyard, and everybody gathers and meets, and they are just socialize with the rest of the community, which I always thought was very, very nice. Um, Let's move on to food and music. There's so many delicious food, Mexican foods. Um, from street tacos to tamales to pozole verde, which is a type of stew. Um, Authentic Mexican food stems from three main Mexican cultures, which is Mayan, Aztec, and Spain, with Spain being the most heavily represented. Some of the most traditional food, foods comes from the Mayan culture. Chocolate's 4,000-year history began in ancient Mesoamerica, which most people don't realize, but that is what we know as Mexico today. And on to music. Mariachi, also known as música ranchera or ranchero, is the best known regional Mexican music genre in the world, making it a global Mexican symbol. There are three types of Mexican music: mariachi, norteño, and banda. Festivals and traditions of Mexico. The quinceañera. The quinceañera is a public welcoming birthday party for 15-year-old girls, and it's a huge celebration, and basically is representation of welcoming a girl into adulthood. The Day of the Dead uh, is a way that people show respect for the dead and their loved ones who have passed. Some people believe that the dead come for food during the Day of the Dead, so at night they set out food for them and for their journey. And Mexican Christmas, which is Posadas, Villachinos, Dia de Reyes, and Candelamas. Um, are all festivals and celebrations of the Mexican culture. Today we've talked about some of Mexico's history, some of their language and communication styles, as well as some of their delicious foods and lively music, and some of the traditions and festivals of Mexico. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you have a great day.